Is being on that caravan a real grind? I mean, is it, as I looked at the tour schedule back, whenever these caravans go, it seems like it's a show every night someplace.
We had, yeah, it was challenging, but it was a lot of fun. We had 6 or 7 one-nighters straight.
Wow.
We had some interesting routing where we had to, there was one stretch, in the middle of one stretch we had played in Luxembourg, and we had to leave right after the show, drive to Frankfurt, Germany, catch a plane and fly to Sweden, which was really crazy.
Yeah.
We did that again, I think, for a Norwegian trip. I think we did it for Norway as well. We did something similar to that.
Right.
There was, periods of time like that where it got crazy, but those kind of experiences toughen you up.
Yeah.
And I've been on far worse itineraries than that in the States. I mean, I remember years ago when I first got my band together, I had to do a show in Syracuse, New York, and I had to be in Wilmington, North Carolina the next day.
Oh my gosh.
That was the worst. You know, so I mean those things. So
yeah,
I think I was prepared for it better than the other two.
Okay.
Although they did very well. They handled it, but I mean you could tell that they it took them some getting used to. I enjoyed it. I mean, It was crazy at times.
Yeah. And were they picking your brain the whole time? Like you say, you were the old guy, the veteran.
Sometimes, well, Lawrence asked me questions and stuff, and then I'd point out things to him that might benefit him too.
Yeah. Musically things?
Musically, and road-wise.
Road-wise, yeah.
I had I can't elaborate, but we've had great. He's like a little brother I never had.
Okay. Are these two, 22 and Christina is in her mid-20s also, I believe?
I think she would like you to, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, are they interested in the history of American blues and going back to learn what you've learned, or are they pretty much starting their blues with Stevie Ray Vaughan and they don't see anything before that? What was your sense of that?
I definitely think they got into it through Stevie Ray, but they've learned well, and I think they learned through a lot of contemporary blues artists. Lawrence's hero is Walter Trout.
Right.
And so I think it goes beyond Stevie Ray, but I found myself turning him on to some old stuff.
That's cool.
And I hope they listen to the old stuff. But they were very much into the contemporary guys,
right.
like Walter and Coco Montoya, and I don't think it matters how you get it into it as long as they're into it.
Sure.
There's some, unfortunately, I think there's people that are overly like puritanical with the music, tend to downplay Stevie Ray's influence, and I remember seeing a website for a blues society that said they had some kind of slogan that said if you listen to Stevie Ray don't join this blues society, which I found kind of narrow-minded and obtuse. I don't think it matters how you get into it.
Right.
As long as you get into it. I mean, I got into it because of Eric Clapton.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't for Eric Clapton, I wouldn't have been exposed to blues. I was a middle-class kid.
Right.
I grew up in the suburbs, and my dad was a doo-wopper from the Bronx, and my mom was a Cuban woman who listened to country music. So I didn't have any exposure to the blues until Eric Clapton came along.
Right.
So.
And so many of us in the 60s, it was Cream and Hendrix and, the bands that came along, even the Doors doing Backdoor Man and kind of going, wow, I love this song. Who's this Willie Dixon guy? So.
Well, how else could we have? I mean, how else could we have gotten into it?
That's right.
I didn't come from that part of town, but I wanted to. The minute I heard it, I wished. I kind of sometimes I wished I was from that part of town,
Yeah.
To listen to that stuff. It's wonderful music, and I don't care how you got into it, as long as you're into it.
Right.
And I think those cats are the ones that are going to keep it alive.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Whether we like it or not.
Sure.
Yeah.
And they're going to go back just like you and I have, and they're going to hear somebody from the 50s, or the 40s, who's just going to rock their world. And that's going to turn them on even more to keeping it alive.
I'll give you another example. There was a show we did in Germany, and we're sound checking, and I was doing this old Lefty Diz number, Bad Avenue, which is on my record.
Your new record, yeah.
But I was messing with that, and Lawrence had never heard the song before. Lawrence Jones had never heard the song before. And then during his sound check, he was copying the licks that I was doing on it. So, you know, whether they got it first hand or they got it second or third hand from me, I mean, it's all good.
That's right. That's right.
It's a great thing.
That's right. On this caravan tour that you've spent so much time on, are European blues venues different from an American blues venue? Or I should say, how are they different?
They're different. They're both great in their own ways, but they're both very different.
Right, because an American blues venue, you're playing a bar. You're playing a local bar, Aces in Bradenton, or Dinosaur, or someplace on Beale Street. My sense is that the European venues are not necessarily bars.
Well, I played bars when on the caravan tour. There are not a lot of bars involved.
Okay.
And if there are bars, they're really big. You know,
800 people.
Sure.
Yeah.
When I was there with my band, the venues were a little smaller.
Okay. Yeah.
But the audiences are very different.
Yeah.
You know, they're very reserved, but they listen. You know, in Europe.
Yeah.
You know, it took some getting used to in the beginning. You know, when I first did the caravan tour, I thought they hated me. You know, because you know, you play in the States and guys are going. People are usually they're very outgoing. You know, they're very crazy and so you're used to that kind of energy and and the energy in Europe's a little more low key. Some countries are a little more, you know, they're a little more outgoing than others. But when I first played Germany, boy, I was like, man, I don't think they like me. and I remember calling Samantha Fish because she was one of my biggest supporters too.
And she's been on the caravan.
Yeah, and she'd been on it. So I called her in the first week of the caravan tour, and I said, I don't think they like me, Samantha. You know, I don't think they're digging it. And she says, that's not true. They like you. They like you. And, you know, it's just, you know, they're different. They're just a different crowd. You know, it's just a different audience. You know, they listen, but they're listening to you.
Yeah.
And so she says, just trust me on this. You know, you're going to be fine. And so she was right.
Yeah.
You know, she was right. But it definitely took some. It was definitely an adjustment. And then when I played this show, like after I had that talk with her, I played this show somewhere, and I put everything I had into it, and everybody was very, you know, polite, and I was like, but I didn't feel at the end of the night I felt like I didn't get
over.
Yeah. But the next day, there's a review in the paper, or in the magazine, or it was a local paper.
Yeah.
And it was in German, and I was like, man, I don't even want to know what they said about me, you know. And then, you know, I can't remember. I think Thomas read it or something, or I think one of the guys in the band who could read German says, well, it said it was amazing, you know. It said it was the most incredible set ever. It was like you were they referred to me as a musical hurricane.
Yeah, wow.
I mean, you would have never known that from
what you felt.
From what I felt from that end, but they have their own way of expressing themselves, and with time, over three and a half months, I felt like I was one of them at some point. I mean, nice. you got used to everything. We got comfortable with each other, and I really liked being there.
Yeah. Does every country almost have its own personality?
Yeah.
You know, that once you cross that border, it was a totally different response to the caravan, huh?
I think so.
Yeah.
Belgium is very different from Germany, and
Scandinavian countries.
Yeah,
probably,
the Scandinavians.
Yeah.
They all have their own personality, you know. But they all love the music.
Right.
They appreciate it very much.
Yeah.